The lunges, you guys will see this a lot throughout the program. These have an awesome transfer effect to hiking up hills. I'm just going to introduce the lunge, some basic technique, things that we're looking for all variations. Then I'll go into a few different variations and ways that you can get more out of your lunges and make them a little bit more challenging. So just to start with, feet are shoulder width apart. We're taking a big step back. And for our lunge, we want the front knee to be at about 90 degrees and the back knee to be roughly at 90 degrees as well in our bottom position. The bottom knee isn't touching the ground. We want to stay nice and active and want to stay nice and tall as we come up to that top position. Common fault is that people are probably a little bit more quad dominant, or they may not be as strong in that bottom position. They'll start to send the hips back first. If that's the case, just modify your range slightly. Don't go as low to start with. Start trying to increase the range of movement each time you go and as you start to get stronger. With our knees, we don't want the knee dropping into the side. Think about actively pressing that front knee out to the side slightly so it's tracking in line with our toes, or slightly outside of the range of our toes. Cool. Another fault, and this is really important for those of you with carrying any knee injuries, is to not let the knee come over the toe. This can be a really good way of strengthening your knees over time, but anyone with knee issues, this is going to cause more discomfort around the knee joint. That's not actually going to help you. So when you lower for your lunge, don't think about going forwards. Think about dropping straight down. Imagine you're in an elevator, going straight up and down rather than in an escalator and letting that knee come forward. If you're really having issues with it, you can go up against a wall, which is going to limit or somewhat limit that knee coming forward. If you do have knee issues, an upright shin or keeping the shin upright as upright as possible is going to be the best position for you to start in, and you can eventually build tolerance as you get stronger throughout the program. Cool. Next thing we'll talk about is tempo. So this is relevant for all variations of lunges again. You're up to 60% stronger in the lowering part of a movement, which means that to get the most out of your lunges and to most out of each of these exercises that we do, lowering or slowing the tempo on the way down is going to give you a lot more bang for your buck. So that means instead of just pumping them out at an even tempo, going a little bit slower on the way down and then coming up at your own speed will give you a little bit more time under tension when you're stronger and help you get more out of the exercise. So split squats, you'll see throughout the program, particularly for level 1 guys, your legs are staying split in that lunge stance and you're just maintaining that position. This is a really good way to practice technique, and you can load this up as well to make it more challenging. Feel free to grab shopping bags, dumbbells, kettlebells, some sort of weight in each hand to weight up the movement as you go. Another thing you can do is just grab a couple of water bottles, bag of rice, shopping bag filled with water and rice or other things that have a little bit of weight to them. Hold them high on your chest and go through your lunge movement that way. So that's the split squat. The next one is a reverse lunge. So this is slightly more challenging, still a really good option for level 1 guys as well. Feet are shoulder width apart. We're stepping back into a lunge and then lowering down, then returning to a standing position. So we're not staying split the whole time like a split squat. You're stepping back. If the program says alternating, it means you're alternating sides every lunge. A traveling lunge, as the name suggests, going from point A to point B. This is usually done as a forward lunge. If you guys want to have a go at a backwards lunge, you can. Again, as you're traveling forward, it's really common to want to drive your knee forward. That's not necessarily a bad thing, as I mentioned before, but there is more stress around the knee joint, which isn't really necessary for the purpose of this program in building just the general strength to allow you guys to hike up Mount Bogong. If you're having any knee discomfort in a traveling lunge, either change it to a reverse lunge or really focus as you step forward on finding your balance, then lowering straight down rather than letting your weight come forward. If your knee does drift forward, as I mentioned before, it's not a bad thing. If you've got healthy knees and you can tolerate, it's actually a good thing. It's going to help build more tolerance and more resilience around your knee joint. Cool, and then the final thing is a rear foot elevated lunge. So our rear foot elevated lunge with a slight elevation of the back foot, and it could even be as small as doing it on a dictionary or thesaurus, bit of a mouthful. If you have your back foot elevated slightly, it's going to add a little bit more difficulty. The higher the back foot is elevated, same principles apply as your normal lunge. The higher the back foot is elevated, the more range of movement, the more difficult it's going to be. So with the back foot fully elevated, it's going to be even more challenging again. So all we're doing here through each of these movements is challenging positional demands before we actually challenge tempo and load. Tempo should be slow on the way down, regardless, and loading can be applied to all variations of the lunges. Split squats, reverse lunges, traveling lunges, and rear foot elevated lunges. You'll notice throughout the program that there's different lunges at different stages throughout the program. All of these have the option to be loaded. All of these have the option to slow down the tempo. So follow along with the program. This gives you a bit of an idea about where to start, different ways you can make it more challenging or easier, and a few things you can watch out for. Hope you guys enjoy. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Enjoy your lunges. These are also a really, really good alternative for anyone that doesn't have access to a hill or stairs for those days in the program. Cool. Hope you guys enjoy.